Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to Trip Boomers Tech-Bodge Emporium. It's a bit of a sorry week for me. My Wi-Fi is apparently a junction down at the box is completely melted. Well, actually 3 massive junctions have melted down there, so they're trying to like fish around. It's kind of working, but the tiniest little bit of download and 0 uploads. So I'm trying to get a video out to you. Hopefully it will upload today, but I just want to get this intro out and done. I mean, you could probably see in the background the tripod there. That's because this phone here is going to be going onto that tripod. That's the best spot in the room for the best signal for me to be able to try and upload this video to you guys. It's probably going to take a while. That's why the cable's set up. But yeah, that being said, in this video, I'm going to be having a look at DLSS and give you a kind of layman's terms idea of how it works, because everyone seems to think that it's just all fake frames. Well, it's not. Frame generation, that is fake frames. That is AI putting guesstimates in between your real frames. DLSS and upscaling, that's not fake frames. It's better to look at it as sort of like heavy anti-aliasing. But also I'm going to sort of answer one of the questions, one of the statements that you always hear, certainly off any sort of AMD fanboy. Always hear, it's so much better to have it native TAA, DLSS is trash, DLAA is trash, it's no good. It's like one of those, you know, like when the one kid in the party that doesn't have that toy, he thinks that toy is trash because he hasn't got one. It's kind of that mentality, and it's kind of mental. So we're gonna have a look at DLSS and kind of how it works, and try and explain it with some comparisons. So the first comparison up is going to be 900p native, which is close to where balanced at 1440p. Upscales from. It actually upscales from about 860p, but 900p was the closest that the settings had in the game. Also we've got 1440p native with DLAA. Both of those are with DLAA. 1440p native DLAA, and it's also up against 1440p balanced DLSS with Reflex on. The other two have got Reflex off, so you get more of a native idea. And then that's for the first comparison while we talk about DLSS and stuff. And then following that, I've got a comparison between 1440p native TAA and 1440p balanced DLSS with Reflex. So basically that second comparison is like no Nvidia versus all of the Nvidia at 30 series level. I haven't got frame gen at the minute. Obviously when I get a GPU that can handle that, then I will. That can do that, then I will. I do use frame gen in one game, FSR frame gen, but it feels okay, so I use it. But that's about it. The rest of it, I don't have a problem with upscaling. But anyways, should we get into the gameplay? Hopefully it'll upload. This might take a couple of days. So yeah, anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe and all that jazz. In a bit, guys. Bye bye. Why did I say in a bit? I don't know. Right, roll the game footage. So basically what DLSS is really doing is it's taking the frame rate. It's taking 860, a little bit lower than this 900p native here. It's taking that image and it's basically anti-aliasing the crap out of it so that it looks like the 1440p native image. And to be fair, it does a hell of a good job. The one thing about DLSS that I've noticed is the main caveat for me, the thing that I notice more than anything else is that the image is a little bit washed, just a tiny bit. It's like the difference between seeing two images play right next to each other, one being on a VA panel and one being on an IPS panel. That VA panel is going to have slightly darker blacks, and the IPS is just a little bit grayer in the blacks, a little bit brighter in the image. Obviously, we all know IPS just has a better capability of dealing with motion than VA, which is why we choose that over VA. However, regardless of the weather, I think the biggest takeaway here is that it doesn't really matter which way you play this game. Obviously, it looks better at native 1440p here. Obviously it does. But the differences are so slight between that and the DLSS balanced. It's crazy. And like I said, it is a slightly lighter image, but we're coming out the cutscene now. I've been waffling to get past the cutscene, obviously, because next up is going to be the gameplay. But everything just looks well. Like, it looks good on all three. Like, this game really does scale up really well, and scales down really well. The game just looks good at pretty much any value, like, but you can see that it is noticeably softer over on the 900p, whereas the DLSS balanced is a lot closer, like a lot closer to the native 1440p. As I said, you do lose a little bit of that depth in the dark, in the dark, a little bit of depth in the black when you use DLSS. But now we're coming into gameplay. You know, we'll get past the whole Doom sign thing. But you know. Even on this Doom sign here, you can see that the DLSS balanced is a lot closer to 1440p than it is to the 900p there. And that 900p, again, like I said, is a higher resolution than what it's actually upscaling from. So, as you can see here, as I said, for the most part, dropping down in resolution in this game, you just get a softer image. But when you're actually, I don't think it's good. Hopefully, YouTube compression gods are smiling upon us, and it allows me to, show the main differences between these. But I can tell you now that over on the 900p, it's a lot softer, and seeing enemies at distance is a lot more difficult. But pulling away from that, if I could just draw your attention to the top lines of each of these runs. The FPS count, obviously between 900p native and the 1440p DLSS balanced, the FPS count are very, very similar. They're within like 5 FPS of each other. However, one thing with that reflex on and using DLSS, the latency is so much lower. So yeah, you might get a slightly brighter image, and it might be slightly softer than 1440p. But for me personally, having almost double the FPS and less and better than half of the latency is such a game changer. I will tell you now that out of these 3 runs here, the DLSS balanced felt the best. It felt the best. It felt the most responsive. I could, 1440p looks a little crisper. You can, especially at distance, it's a little bit crisper at distance. It does look a bit better, but having 60 plus FPS over 30 plus FPS is just a game changer. and having 33 milliseconds of latency instead of 100 milliseconds of latency is just another game changer. Admittedly, obviously some of that latency is down to the fact that we're at 1440p on a 3060 here, but you can't take away from the fact that it's genuine frames. They're not fake frames. They are used from like I said, it's easier to look at it as you're playing at a lower resolution. It's just being anti-aliased to death to give it the look of the higher resolution. It's kind of somewhere in between, somewhere like that. That's a better way to look at it than it's fake frames. It's not. Frame generation. That is fake frames. That is AI inserting guesstimates in between your real frames. That's what that is. So you can argue fake frames about frame gen as much as you want. I am on board with you that they are fake frames. I mean, they seem to be doing a pretty decent job. I will have a look once I've got a GPU better than this. I do use frame gen in one game. It's FSR frame gen, but I do use it in one game because it actually feels alright. But yeah, DLSS in this game is just a game changer. Sorry, I'm just drinking a coffee. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how else to put it really. Like, I mean, the thing plays just so well. Like, it's not just I've got poor hardware, so I'm gonna have to use that. I mean, it's a bit of that. Don't get me wrong. If I didn't have DLSS, this 3060 would not be able to do what it does for me on a general basis, especially seeing as I play at 1440p these days. At 1080p it was a bit of a beast until, fairly recently really. It's only been since devs have got really lazy about optimizing their games. I mean, take this game for example. We are using Ultra Nightmare textures here. We are using Ultra Nightmare shaders. We are using Ultra Nightmare texture filtering and Ultra Nightmare shadows. There's only a few things that I've turned down to get this frame rate to be like this. I am using my optimized TPB's optimized settings. You are more than welcome. I will to go take a look, try them out on your GPU. I'll leave a link to them down below in the description for this video. But yeah, as you can see, so basically what DLSS is doing is it's taking the frame rate from the one on the left and it's making it look like the one in the middle, and the results is the one on the right, and it just bangs. I'm sorry, but it does. Obviously, play the game how you want to play the game, That's completely your prerogative. That's completely on your, no one's here telling you should do this, or telling you should do that, or telling you that your GPU's trash because it hasn't got that. I'm never going to do that. I think most graphics cards have a use. Don't come at me with the, oh yeah, what, like the 710 or the 1030 or the 210. No, they are video adapters. They are not graphics cards, they are video adapters. They are literally designed to serve a purpose. Their purpose is to give you a video out when your CPU doesn't have onboard graphics. That is their purpose. They are not designed to play games. They are a graphics card in a sense, so they do have the capabilities to play a game. Very loosely termed capabilities right there. I'm definitely being loose with that. Right, okay, so next up guys, this is the second comparison that we've got today. This one is 1440p native TAA reflex off versus 1440p DLSS balanced reflex on. So this is basically no Nvidia versus all the Nvidia, at least at 30 series anyway. There's no frame gen, but you get the idea. This is literally the argument everyone makes. Shouldn't play with DLSS balance because it's trash. You shouldn't play with DLAA because it's trash. You should just play with TAA. So this is the differences here. And again, like I said, you do get that slightly washness to the image, but if I'm honest with you, that's it. That's about the only difference I see. Like I'm watching this with you, and that's about the only difference that I see really between the two of them. And if you gander your eyes up at the FPS and the latency, we're in the same boat. You know, like we are literally in the same boat. I mean, this slightly brighterness to the image. I mean, you could probably literally just solve that with your monitor and just darken things up on your monitor a little bit, and job done. You can match it up that way. But you know, like so, it having that slightly darker depth to the blacks does make a visual impact, but not enough to excuse what an extra 30 odd FPS and like 40 odd milliseconds less latency. Like it just doesn't. It doesn't. You know, this game looks wicked. It scales really, really well for resolutions. It plays super stable. The frame rate is flat as anything. So like, you know, what frame rate you're seeing here, there's only going to be like a fluctuation of like 10 FPS in either direction. Like it is such a tight game. Like, I mean, as I've said before, yeah, yes, it is obviously, you know, intensive. It's a brand new game. It's got a lot of graphics going on in it, a lot of ray tracing and stuff. But to see these two side by side and see how close visually the DLSS balance gets to 1440p native TAA is kind of insane. And then for you to then think, yeah, it's this close visually, and it's giving me an extra 20 to 30 FPS, and it's cutting my latency better than half. I mean, is there much more to say about it? I mean, me personally, if you've got an RTX card, it's kind of daft not to play with it with a little DLSS. And certainly with Reflex on. Reflex makes such a big difference. Like, for me, that's the real king of it's the real king of Nvidia. That's their real game changer, the Reflex, because that latency cut is insane. I just think that's like, it has literally got over half, like less than half of the latency of native TAA here. So for all of you that say, oh, DLSS is trash, it looks like trash, it doesn't play well, it's always stuttery and everything, I can promise you that this game never stutters. It's got like, at this precise moment, what, like double the frame rate, and just under double the frame rate, and just under just under half the latency. Like, yeah, your CPU's working a little bit harder, but that's only because it's doing more frame rates. That's the only reason it's like 20 odd % is because, you know, the GPU's working harder, it's getting more frames out. But this is why people that have an RTX card play with DLSS quite a lot. So to all you AMD fanboys, all you Red fans, I've got nothing against AMD. I actually think they're sick, and I love the competition, and I love everything tech. So I've got nothing against AMD. But I know that anyone that loves AMD has got everything against Nvidia. So anyone that has someone doing, I was like, oh, DLS looks like trash. It's like rubbing Vaseline in your eyes. Is it? Is it really? Because I'm looking here and I'm not seeing that. I really do hope that YouTube compression helps me out here, and you know, allows this to come through at a quality that you can see the differences between these things. But I can promise you now that like, to me, if you've got a 3060, it's a no-brainer to play this with DLSS. Balanced is fine at 1440p. Like, there's very little difference here between this and native. Of course, native's going to be a little bit sharper. It is actually rendering those 40p pixels. Like, do you know what I mean? It is actually, like, it started with that image, so it's going to look a little bit better. However, it's very slight, and you could put it, unless you had these side by side, yeah, I think you could put this DLSS balanced, all these settings, you could have this set up for someone to play the game, yeah, and they wouldn't even bat an eyelid. They wouldn't think, oh, you got DLSS on here. Do you know what I mean? They just wouldn't. They wouldn't be like, oh, this game looks trash. How do I see where I'm going? How do I see what's going on? I mean, they wouldn't, because that isn't a problem with DLSS, regardless of how much they try and tell you that it is. But, you know, for me, if you've got an RTX card, you may as well use it. It helps, it smooths stuff out, and Reflex, oh my god, what a legendary thing. Like, the latency is just insane. DLSS in itself, doing the upscaling, actually drops your latency, and then Reflex just tightens it up a bit further, and I think this perfectly shows that off. But yeah, guys, this you know, DLSS is good. Stop trying to tell people that it's trash. Stop trying to tell people that it takes so much away from your game, when all it really does is add. It takes away a little, like I said, you get a slight little bit of a washness about the image, but that's it. Like, literally, that is it. You can see that right here. Well, I hope you can see that right here. Hopefully YouTube compression is going to be good to me. But yeah, so for anyone that's like, oh, DLSS is trash, you should only use native. Do you know what I mean? And I don't care what anyone says. DLSS balanced with Reflex on here at 1440p looks better than 1080p native. It just does. It just does. And although it might not, on a freeze frame basis, look better than 1440p native here, it looks so incredibly close that it shouldn't. It doesn't. To me, it doesn't matter, especially seeing as it, you know, it cuts my latency so severely, and it increases my FPS so well. Like, there is not enough taken away from this image here for me to have a problem with DLSS. There is nowhere near enough taken away from this image for that to be a problem. Like, it is, they're so close to each other visually that it just doesn't matter, you know. Like, it really doesn't. So if you've got an RTX card, just use DLSS, and if you've got an AMD card, get over the fact that it's good. Do you know what I mean? Just get over the fact that DLSS is good. Like, there's no other way around it. Like, you're just gonna have to get over that fact. Like the hate on DLSS is usually comes from someone who's got an AMD card or a GTX card, right? And I just hate that that it's just bullshit. The bullshit that comes out of their mouth is just bullshit. Like, they have no idea what they're talking about, because this is lit, you know. It is friggin' lit, and they are so close to each other visually, and you get such a gain in FPS and such a cut in latency that it's just crazy, and I'm sorry that your AMD card doesn't have DLSS, and I'm sorry that I have not tested FSR against this right here, but I'm sorry, but FSR just doesn't look as good as DLSS. Plus, I personally think that FSR is designed for AMD cards, so for me, it's like we're going to get rid of that. You know, this thing's designed for an AMD card, not a Nvidia card. Guys, DLSS is good. I don't know why you all argue that it's bad, but it's good. I feel like I'm proving it here. Hopefully YouTube compression's going to be good to us. I'll see you in the next one, guys. All of you, bye.
Like and subscribe. Thank you.